Hello there. You hear anything, guys? Hello? Hello, Colin. Hello, Kari. I don't know if I've seen you before, but welcome. You guys hear any music? Oh, okay. Okay. Do you hear any music now? Interesting. Yeah, well, I just wanted to add some music while we wait for other people. But I think it has something to do with. Okay. Interesting. Let's see if I. So you do hear some music? Maybe it's from my microphone actually. Let's see, do you hear it now? Like now, do you hear it? Yeah, obviously there are some settings in OBS that I have to master first, or maybe there are some bugs in it. Let's wait like 1 more minute, 2 more minutes, see if anybody else shows up. And I can tweak my audio settings meanwhile. From my perspective, the stream went really well. Yeah, like I didn't expect for it to go so well, at least for how easy it was for me to convey all of the ideas and everything, but the audience was not really, didn't engage really, like so as a student you'd generally benefit a lot by engaging, and I mean, yeah, people asked questions and we talked on chat, but I think people would need to choose their project, like their project, which will be graded at the end. And I have that the presence spreadsheet, Google spreadsheet, where everyone can choose their project. And the sooner you choose it, the better, and you can like be more motivated to learn certain things. If you, I mean, maybe you're already highly motivated anyway, but knowing what project you want to make, and it has to be like very like toy version, like a very small version of the project that you are willing to make afterwards, or maybe just a separate project if you want to create a very different one after the course. But as part of the course, you should choose one of the 3 projects from that list, and the list is this one. If you don't have it, there are like selected candidates section with only 3 projects, and it should in theory take you just a few days to implement them. After we will be learning components for each of them. And when you've decided on your project, just go on the presence spreadsheet, and under your name just mention the project, like what you will be making. And but I really want to make this work, this audio thing to work. Actually, I think the audio actually works, but not in Google Meet. Yeah, I think that's the case. I think on, let's see. From my microphone actually. Yeah, so the stream works on YouTube. It's just that Google Meet doesn't see the entire, all of my audio devices. Okay, mystery solved. So let me turn the volume down. This is like a synthwave radio beats, lo-fi, chill, beats to chill game. Yeah, okay, anyway, so I guess we can start like in a minute. We have 2 concurrent viewers on YouTube, that's great. Let's see if I can, like, in my presentation, if I can just have multiple audio, but I think I cannot. Well, it's not that important anyway. Okay. Okay. In my presentation, if I can just have multiple audio, but I think I cannot. Well, it's not that important anyway. Oh. Okay, I've got it. Good, so you can, if you want to listen to something, you can listen to this. If you want to listen to the same thing as me, just put it like a very low volume. So yeah, you can listen to it like on the YouTube stream, but I think there's like 5 seconds delay or something like that there. So let's see what so in this Google Doc, the first one, you scroll at the bottom and there's the selected candidates section, and candidates refers to projects. So what projects are the candidates? And we have Magic Jewelry, 3D Sniper Shooter, and 2D Platformer. And you can see an example of such a game in the project section. Like there's a section called projects only, and you can see them there. And these are very small projects that you have to make as part of the course. And yeah, just choose one that's closest to what you want to create, and it should take you like just a few days after we will be learning about their components. Yeah, and after that, after the course and everything, you can like start to work on, if you want, like to create another game. So someone has already posted like murder mystery puzzle adventure game. So Andre posted that one, but I guess they will have to settle on, I mean, yeah, they can choose probably like a 3D shooter somehow to solve mysteries, or just straight to a 2D platformer. And yeah, basically you'll be creating one of those 3D games, which will be very simple and very fast. And afterwards, like if you want a more complex game, you can just stick around, like, you know, you'll be like an alumni and you'll be in the Discord server, and you can just ask questions and stuff like that there, and I will try to respond. Just you can ask anything. That's what that channel was made for, right? The GameDev channel. So we said that there's nowhere where you can, so you go on the spreadsheet, and I mean, if you're on a laptop, maybe you have a small screen, and even on desktop, I can't see it. It's at the very right. It's called Chosen Games. It's at the column K. Yeah, it's basically the column K. This one. Here. Yeah, and you'll use your name here, right, and put whatever project from those you'll be creating. Ah, okay. Yeah, Carrie, you have some like 4 days to recover, I think, or 3. I don't remember if you were here first day, but yeah, like there's a lot to recover. I mean, everyone can join at any time, as long as, I mean, there are no rules. This is not school. There are no rules here. And there will be like a test at the end, and like, because you are not that many, we can even maybe either delay the test or I might just give you the test on different days, or yeah, we'll see about that. Like, we have 3 more weeks until then. Yeah, so there's no problem there. Yeah, I recommend maybe just two sessions per day, if you can do them this weekend. That would be like a good balance. Because they are roughly 2 hours, right? Okay. So here we are. Week 1, day 5. Okay, let me close some tabs here. Good. So here we are. We'll be talking about scenes, and we'll do some animation and mostly sprites. And sprites are this fundamental part of Unity's 2D games. Yeah, and they are made of an image, or most of the time a sequence of images or frames. And yeah, we'll go into that. So let's start with scenes. We've already talked about them. Yeah, like you already know what a scene is, right? Let's start Unity. Actually, yeah, we'll be starting the project itself, which is I don't know if I've linked the project already. Hello, Alex. I don't know if I've...
Sorry, I'm late again.
Hello. Don't worry, man. So the link for the project because it's public. This is the link for the project. It won't be probably that useful for you now because only for like I think starting with today, right? Let's see. Oh, so many objects we've created here. Yeah, we actually will have directly in this project we'll have stuff here. So it's a reference. The slides will reference this folder. So yeah, actually, just if you can, like, it's recommended if you go now and clone this this repository into a folder locally on your device, and just open it with Unity. So that would be like the best thing that you can do to, like, it's for your own good, right? And you can follow along and do things while we talk about them, because if you just watch, it's not the best way to learn, right? So yeah, well, it's this one, 2022.3.21, and you can also choose a later one. Depends on your internet connection. If you have a good connection, yeah, you can do it. But if you have a version that's a newer version than this 2022.3.21, you can use it with that one as well. Yeah, so you'd basically go here, like I already gave you the URL. And I mean, I will do it through SmartGit because it's easier for me, and I've already talked about it and how you install it, and it's free for personal use and everything. So you'll just go repository, clone, and paste this here. There's only one branch, and yeah, you can do basically, that's the repo name. I'm just cloning it so you can see it live here. Because I already have it here, right? Yeah, and it's here. And now you can go to Unity Hub and you can do add, I think, and you go here and you, where are you? Where did I put you? Dev. Oh, okay, this one. What? It's not alphabetical. Okay. And you basically open it and it will open another Unity. And I think because it's the same project, I think it's not. I don't remember. Like the last time, like a few years ago, when I tried to open the same project that was copied 100% file by file into another folder on my device. There are some weird errors, just basically running the same project twice, even though it's in a different folder. Yeah, probably Unity like creates a temporary folder in your operating system's temp folder, and kind of because if objects have the same IDs and stuff like that, I think there are some errors there. But basically you press open and it will open this project. And of course, I think we can, I mean, I'll just create this. Let's see, all the things that we've done while live. Want to organize them into this folder, and I don't know, I will move them or remove them, I don't know, at some point. Okay, this should be it. Yeah, no problem. Good, so we've basically cloned the repo. Let me remove it from here. No, this. Okay. Yeah, well, let's wait maybe 1 or 2 minutes for Alex. Maybe he can install Unity. Don't forget hydration, it's good for you.
Oh no, actually, I'm not sure it's gonna be very fast. You should proceed, and I'm gonna open the YouTube stream and catch up with you in the meantime.
What's that? I didn't hear you. Sorry.
One second, I'm gonna switch to the PC mic.
Yeah, meanwhile we can go here. Yeah, so a scene is, I mean, we've already talked about it, but here's like the official slide for it. Yeah, a scene is a thing that stores all of your objects for a particular scene in the game. So a scene can be anything, but classically a scene is, for example, when you create like a 3D game, a scene is maybe a room or like a map of your game. can be. And of course, if the map is too big, like if it's an open world, you'd have to play with multiple scenes and you load them like they are like tiles of your map and you load them incrementally. You only load scenes that are adjacent to your player. Yeah, but at the simplest level, your scene is something that is a coherent and consistent place in your game. Whether your game is it's a 2D game or 3D game, it doesn't matter. And it's always like it really it changes with project types. So it really it depends on the project type. So let's say a platformer. So a 2D platformer can, like, you can create it by having a single scene being a level, and that's one way of doing it. And for the current course, that's like the best thing you can do because it's easy. But like imagine your level is very long, and what that would mean is basically all of the objects that are present in the scene will be loaded in memory, and that's like even if you don't see your whole level, it will always be loaded, and that means that it will consume unnecessary resources and it will drain your battery if it's on mobile, and you might get a low FPS. But because we're making a simple game, I mean, probably not even that will decrease your FPS, right? And yeah, so for the 2D platformer, we'll be creating the whole level at once, and it will be loaded in memory. We'll just basically, if you remember from 2 days ago, I think, or yesterday, you can create the level by just with that rect tool. With you select a cube, you press I think R, no, T, and basically you place the blocks like that however you want. Like that's the easiest way to create it. And of course there are tools and plugins like the 2D platformer builder or package or template or whatever. You'll find a lot of assets, mostly paid ones, and of course it will take a few days to learn it, as with any other tool. But yeah, that's a scene, that's a level. In like if you want your game to have 2 levels, basically your second level will be a scene, another scene, right? And what other people also do is for the main menu itself, they create another scene. So when somebody enters your game, basically they are loading the main menu scene, and yeah, they go to settings, they go to whatever you have there, and when they press play, the first level loads, and then when you complete the first level through code, you load the next level. And yeah, that's scenes basically. Yeah, and there are some games that use only one scene, and through code they basically always delete objects and create new objects, and basically you have to keep track, like you've created the whole level, the player is seeing it, and then when you need to load another level, you basically have to keep track of everything you've created and deallocate it or delete it in order to create a new level. And with discipline, you can do it. I mean, that's how a lot of people program in programming languages where there's no automatic garbage collection. You have to do stuff by hand. But Unity already it's created in a way where it encourages you to use multiple scenes, and it kind of assumes that you won't be manually deleting all the objects that you are creating. Like when you're creating an object under a scene, it's already implied that when you unload that scene, all of the game objects that were created will be like deleted from memory, right? So there will be no ghost objects from previous levels hanging around your new levels. So is there anything you can do to game objects, like turn on visibility or destroy them within the scene to minimize this? Yeah, I don't think I understand exactly why are you asking this, but I understand that. Yeah, I mean, there is this thing on objects. So you have this thing here, and of course you can do it through code as well. So you can activate or deactivate an object, or actually destroy them. And when you destroy an object, you basically just delete it from the scene, and you can do it through code as well. And yeah. Oh, yeah, you actually are you maybe following the YouTube stream, or maybe you're slightly behind? If I think, like, are you referring to when I was talking about the platformer where you have the entire level loaded at the same time and you want to only show objects that are visible? I think that's what you were referring to, right? Yeah, and like there's a saying like early optimization is the root of all evil, which means trying to optimize things before you have them, before you have a game basically that you can show to someone. So that's what why I was saying it's better for us to just load the entire level and you can just play it, and you won't get like a degraded performance because it will be very, very simple. But of course, you have a lot of tools at your disposal to create, to disable, enable things, and do all of that. And I think the laziest approach would be to do like, I never used it, but there is a callback on your scripts. So basically you would have to, like on each of your cubes, you will add a script. Conditional visibility, or actually let's make it like conditionally visible. Again, I haven't used it before, but Unity is so big that a lot of simple things we are not yeah, well, because now I've changed the name, I have to rename it in code as well. Yeah, that's a good point actually, but like you shouldn't use this now. Like I think it's a very there's a very low chance that you'll get like frame rate drops and all of that. But where is it? This mono behavior that only became visible, and this is an event that Unity expires. Like these are these special events. Don't check periodically. On became visible, and it should turn blue, but I don't know why. I know on Windows it turns blue, and you do like get component renderer and enabled. Like this is one of the ways. On became invisible, and I think the way it works is that Unity. Actually, this should be true. I don't know if this will work actually. But the way it works, I think Unity just looks through the main camera that's active and just sends events to every object that has a mono behavior, that has a function that's called this on became visible and on became invisible. And let's say like we want this thing, and I don't know, let's distinguish it somehow. I don't know, maybe make it like this. So okay, it's a bit distinguished. It's a bit different now. Conditionally visible cube. So this is a script, and like I said, you can have many scripts. So if we play it, let's see the game, it's visible, right? Well, let's switch back the camera to, let's put the camera here so we can see it better, to perspective, which is the default one. So we can see it here. This is the object, this is the object, and let's start the game. Okay, we started the game, and let's see if it works out of the box. If not, then of course we'll have many more things to change, and we won't really go into it. But you can press this thing here, and your scene view camera, so in editor, not in the game, can become orthographic, so you can better see the objects, right? Because if you're in perspective, you see they kind of move naturally like you'd expect. But if you want like perfectly mathematical parallel projection, right, you can do it like this. So this is our object, and let's see if it disappears. Nah, it doesn't disappear. Yeah, well, at least we've tried. But we can put some logs here, right? We can do like, I mean, we won't spend too much time on this, but well, I shouldn't have pressed Ctrl S. Okay, conditionally visible, and on became visible, on became invisible, and okay, we have a mesh renderer. Okay, on became visible. So our objects, this function has triggered, and let's see. Okay, on became invisible doesn't work. I don't know how that works. How yeah, maybe there's a bug in Unity. So let's see. When the renderer is no longer visible by any camera, it's sent to all scripts when they have a renderer. Yes, and we have another camera somewhere if it's not disabled. It's disabled. So it's disabled, so it should, in theory, not work. Yeah, I mean, this is the theory, right? But of course, when you go into practice, there are some bugs, there are some things, right? Let's see. Yeah, I mean, that's the theory, and in practice, depending on Unity version, like, it might not work. But the way in which you can do this also is, I mean, I have to go into ChatGPT and just ask it, basically. But there's a lot of ways. Like, you get the main camera and you see if the camera is seeing the object, basically. Dot main, which is always the camera, any camera that has the tag main camera. And you do a lot of things like, I don't know, there are a lot of ways. Screen point array, yeah. Basically, you'll ask ChatGPT and it will do it for you. Yeah, I thought, like, I was optimistic that this Unity version will work with this thing, and I mean, maybe there's like, maybe it actually sees the scene camera as a camera. That would be weird. Like, it shouldn't work like that. Ah, okay. But I see it becomes visible and invisible multiple times, which is weird. Huh. Well, that's weird. I think maybe it has something to do with reflections, or I don't really know. Yeah. Yeah, but just doing it manually, like, I try to not rely too much on these events, because I know they're buggy in really. Yeah, sure, I'll send you the link again. Even start, update, awake, and fixed update, and a few of these that are the most used ones, still sometimes get buggy in some Unity versions. But these things like on became visible and stuff like this, yeah, there's also like on collision stay. Like, when you collide with an object, you get the on collision enter. Then you have the on collision stay. It's called each frame while the objects are colliding, and then we are not colliding again. You have like on collision exit, I think, or something like that. And like, there's a lot of mono behavior messages that you can respond to. And yeah, there's also like mouse over. When you basically put the mouse over an object, you can receive a message, right? Or something like on, I don't know, on mouse over. Right? Yeah, and I kind of hate this private because it's private by default, and I know I'm like just a minority. A lot of people just want to, but I don't like redundancy. Like, so everything by default is private. So we will talk later what that means, but it means that it's not visible outside. Yeah, I mean, if since we're at it, we can just take a look. You see, mouse over. So yeah, you can do a lot of things like this. Yeah. I mean, if you go here, you'll see here under messages, look how many there are. A lot of things here. Yeah, basically you just ask ChatGPT what do you want, or you will also find this on Google, right? That's how I learned Stack Overflow and everything, and you just find whatever you want. Good. So that was like a short digression. Yeah, basically he asked if there's a way to hide things conditionally, and there is, yeah. And if you want like full predictability, you just use in the update, which is called once per frame, you'd just raycast, and you'll constantly raycast, and we'll talk about what raycasting is, but you'll basically just check each frame if a certain object intersects with the camera's frustum. And frustum is this thing. Camera. This is the camera frustum. This prism. Like, you know, this prism, it's like whatever the camera sees. Right? Yeah. So this is like a generic level. And Unity initially, and even in code, there's a lot of code in Unity which refers to the scenes interchangeably, like uses scene and level interchangeably. So basically they're like the same thing, because that's what they were classically used for, right? So you have UI event system, environment, lightning, main camera, which is a Cinemachine camera, and it's this is a third-party asset that's very cool. We'll talk about later. Player follow camera, yeah, cylinder, some goal. Characters, well, I don't know if you necessarily have to put them under an empty object like this, but I guess, like, yeah, it's good for organizational purposes if you want. Like this object has like the origin 000, and it's just an empty object, and when you instantiate your character prefabs, you'll basically set this as their parent. If you want, for example, to pause the game and just see, okay, you have 80 characters instantiated, right? And maybe you want to find all of them easier. Imagine like a game has thousands of game objects, right? And you don't want to just search, you know, or yeah, maybe you want to disable all characters at some point, and you can just disable this parent, and it disables every children. And yeah, here's like a demo character, and it's the selected one. This one has some beep. I think that's the base mesh, the 3D mesh. Then I don't know what this is. It might be the equipment, maybe. And this is the HPY. It's basically this health bar. It has a HP bar, a background, a fill area, and this is basically, this is actually a canvas. This is a world space canvas. And the way you can do that, and we'll go over it at some more in depth next week, I think. But basically you can do it like this. You can world space, and you have now a, oh yeah, you need the camera. Okay. And you can basically, you can have it like this, 200 and 100, I guess. And basically we have a 3D UI now. Well, I think you can have it like maybe. Yeah, it's actually because it's in meters, so you would basically do it like 1 width and 0.5 height or something like that, right? And it's here. Or I mean, let's make it bigger, like 3 and 1 or 2. And this is like your UI, and you can add anything to it, right? You can add slider. Well, it shouldn't be that big. I don't think how it really works. Canvas scaler. Honestly, I haven't done the 3D UI before. And I think if I created like, if I added like this 5 and 2, yeah, it won't work like this. I will have to basically scale it down or... Oh, I think I know, yeah. I have to still keep it like this, like maybe 800 by 300 and work with scale. It's not like, I think that there's a better way to do it, but yeah, and this is like your UI, right? And this is your health bar. And yeah, you can just play with these things here, like the background, right? You can make it green, or yeah, this is the value of it, like its value. And you can just remove the handle if you want. You can disable it, right? And basically now you have a health bar, right? This is your slider, and I mean you can also have some text somewhere, right? And you can attach this. I mean, you can make it smaller, and you can attach it to a character, right? And you put a script on it so that it always looks to the camera, right? It will do like this, and it will also look to the camera, but we'll go over that later, I think. Yeah, and this is your character, right? And through code, you basically decrease this value or not, right? And that's what that's how it was done here. By the way, I never did this. I did it some other way, which is more complex, and I shouldn't have done it that way. This way is easier. Good. Building set, I guess these things are mostly when you create modular levels, and when you, for example, download a template from Unity Asset Store, and you basically get like this entire scene, and it's like a demo scene with every 3D assets there. And you can basically take whatever you want from it and put it into your scene. And or I mean, maybe you're not creating a game, maybe you create a like a rendering of a building. Maybe you create a I don't know, a house project, right? You can create it in Unity. You can create it in Blender as well, of course, but you can also create it in Unity. I mean, I think there are some plugins to which you can have access to more tools, like more exact units and more fine tuning and all of that. But like by default, we have a very rough approximation of a house, right? And if you want to go like in a professional tool, like of course there's CAD and all of those tools, AutoCAD, and Yeah, so like in a platformer, this is a scene, and to the left and to the right, in our case, we'll use the same scene, like the entire long level will be a single scene in our case. And we'll see, like if there will be a lot of, maybe if our FPS will drop like very low, like below 30, then we'll think about some things. how we'll probably do something similar to that thing, like to hide objects, right? We'll debug that on become invisible, why it doesn't work, or we'll create our own. There's a lot of ways in which you can achieve that. So yeah, this is a scene, and of course in racing also you have scenes, and in this case it's a bit harder to have an entire scene loaded at once, because you have a lot of details, and you can either choose to still have the same terrain, basic terrain, loaded at the same time, or you can just choose to have your map be sliced in tiles, right? Like a tic-tac-toe game, or like, right, you have tiles. So maybe you have like 9x9 tiles, and each tile is a different scene, and depending on where the player is, you will load that tile, and they won't be able to basically see that you're doing that. And that takes some more effort, especially when you have like more realistic visuals, right? Yes, scene management. So this is just one example. Like when you play a level, and of course you've completed it, or you've died or something, and you want to restart it, it's a big mistake to just keep track of every object that you've created, and to delete it, and make sure no ghost object is hanging around from your previous try. You just unload the entire scene, right? Like get rid of everything, and you load it again. Like, I mean, there's, you cannot get more elegant than that, right? And I think like there's even only one step. I think if you do like load scene, there are two ways in which you can load the scene. We'll see. I think that, yeah, there will be like additive, which means another scene will be added to the current scene, or replace, and basically a new scene will replace the current scene. And if it's the same like scene asset, it works seamlessly, if I remember correctly, because like there's like the scene asset, which is very similar to a prefab. So it's basically a prefab for a scene, and you have the scene instance that's in your memory, right? And when you load the same scene asset again, it just it's like the shortcut for unloading the current scene from memory and loading again the scene asset, turning it into a new scene instance in the memory. And yeah, let's see what's here. Yeah, scene management is a very important aspect that we have to kind of think of beforehand. Yeah, and a scene can also be like if you have like an in-game chat that's open only when you receive, I mean, you have like a button somewhere, and For example, when you receive a message, you can show a bubble with the number of messages, like a red bubble or whatever. And when the player presses that button, you want to show a chat, like an overlay user interface with everything there, right? And they interact with the chat, and then they press the button again, and it then disappears. But you don't want to keep that chat in memory, right? And you just create a new scene. Like you have a new scene in Unity Editor, you create it, you call it like chat, right? And you will load it. When they press that button, you load that scene additively. So there's a parameter for when you, like there are two modes for loading a scene. Additive and replace. And in that case, you will load it additively, right? And you just turn the scene asset file into an in-memory instance of that scene, of that chat scene. And when you're done with it, you're unloading it. And it doesn't affect your current scene, 3D scene with the tanks and battle and whatever you're doing there, right? And that way it conserves memory and FPS and everything. Yeah, and this is like the simplest form of scene management, the script which unloads the current scene and then loads a new one. And this refers more where you like change the level, not when you just show an overlay for a like 2D scene with some UI on it, right? Like the chat. But literally like when you go from the main menu, when you started the game, to the game itself. Or when you just go like enter a door and that door represents like the starting of a new level and just show a black screen, like a small fade, and then you unload the scene and then you load the new scene and then you fade in again, and it's like focus focus, nothing happened from the player's perspective, just the normal cinematic transition happened. So when to create a new scene? When you can logically separate some objects or functionality from the current one. So different levels, stages in your game, different screens in our main menu. Yeah, this is sometimes this might be true, sometimes not. Sometimes it might be just easier to just disable UI and enable the new one. Like you always have them in the scene, like you have like settings or settings or leaderboards or everything, and you just might just load them additively, right? Those UI elements basically, or they might even be just prefabs, not even scenes. They might be just prefabs. So your entire settings UI can be a very complex prefab that when player presses settings, you load that prefab and you see everything there. And then when you press X, you just destroy the prefab. That's the terminology, like instantiate or destroy. And yeah, but you can also choose, like if your main menu is quite complex, maybe you want like to display a 3D background. Maybe your like menu is not just it's 2D, but you have some 3D objects in the background, like a forest or whatever. And when you go to the settings, you have like you're inside the garage or something, right? And you can, in that case, use this scene management. Like you can literally just unload the scene and load a new scene. Yeah, like the pause menu, you can overlay a scene onto another scene at the same time using the additive load mode. Yeah, and these are the things, these are the callbacks, yeah, the APIs in Unity, which you can use. Load scene does it immediately, meaning that when you press the button or whatever action triggers your scene loading, it loads like everything in the game stops and it just starts loading the scene. if you do it this way, it's more like if you did some web development, is this async thing, and like this is the recommended way because you can press the button or whatever to load the new scene. You call this and you receive a like an object that represents the progress, and you constantly like query that object, and you get like a progress from 0 to 100 or something like that. And that way you can have like a spinner or a progress bar that shows like, okay, the new scene is loading like 0, 10, 80%, and then it's more it's smoother to the player. But there's more to manage here, right? Because you get an object that represents represents. I can show you actually. This is just a function that nobody sees at the moment. So, but for example, you can have like a button. We'll talk about this later. So basically, if you add this script to I mean, the script now does a lot of things. It shouldn't be like this. Like a script shouldn't be doing this many things. But just for educational purposes, if you add this script now to a button, canvas, to a button, in start, when the game starts, this is called only once per game. For each object, obviously. If you have 2 buttons, it will be called for each of them. Because you see this component here on the object, and the button component is also on the object and the image and everything. And the way you can get other components, you basically just do get component, right? And it's obvious that you're asking get component for this object, like for the object that this on which this script is attached. And yeah, basically you get the button, you on click add listener, and basically this thing will be called when you press the button. And then you can do, this is called scene manager, I think. Scene manager that load scene. I mean, load scene is simple. You just load the scene, and void means that it doesn't return anything. We'll talk about the programming aspect quite a lot next week. But yeah, and you can load scene, and you load it by name. And in order to load it, you have to have it here, if I remember correctly. You have to have it here, like Command Shift and B, or Control Shift and B on Windows, I think. You have to have them here, the scenes, right? All of your scenes have to be here, which kind of instructs Unity then when you build the your project, and you like get an exe file or whatever for whatever platform, it tells Unity that those are the scenes that have to be included in the bundle, like in the game package when you ship it, right? Otherwise, like if it would add every scene, it would get unnecessarily big, and like you'd get many, I don't know, gigs of unnecessary stuff, because a scene also have dependencies, and it has to add those dependencies as well, and so on. yeah, so this is load scene, and it does it automatically. So it loads the scene, and immediately, like on the next frame, on the next line, you can already do debug loaded scene, right? I mean, yeah, you give it a name like, and I think like you have to give it like this name. This name I think you have to give it, and even I think even with this, yeah, I really don't remember if you have to put like .unity because that's the scene name, and week 2, and even if you have to do like assets, I don't remember. I think you don't. No, I think you don't have to do this. So yeah, that's like the non-async. Load scene async, and yeah, basically here you decide, is it additive, which means it will add it to the current loaded scenes, which is similar to just doing this, right? And they are both scenes visible at the same time. Okay, this is like additive, but oh, single or replace. Yeah, single is means that it will replace the current scene. And when you do that, the scene at this line of code is still loading scene, right? But in any case, it's just a good practice to basically move this before in general. Like it doesn't have anything to do with scenes. Like you know that you have the intention to load the scene, and you just display, okay, loading scene, and you receive this object async operation. This is the object that you receive. Just keep it simple, you know, just op from operation. In var to you have to specify the type of object, right? It's async operation, but it's too big, right? It's too large, too much letters to write. Op, and then you have like I mean, basically you can do something like this, like and you can do something like, you just don't worry like if you don't understand everything, but just if you understand at least 10% of it, that's great. Because update, it's called each frame, right? It will do like if load up is not null. It does, let's see what else we have here, like progress, and can do like, I mean, it will happen each frame during the loading, but it's a simple way to yeah, and basically this is called each frame, and when we press the button, we start the loading, and we store the load operation in this variable, which is for the whole class. And in this update, which is already called each frame like crazy, we check like if this thing was not null, so it was assigned somewhere, we just display load progress to something, right? And I mean, this is not necessarily required here, but it's like a good thing. Like if if the loading operation is done, then we set this to null so that it won't enter into this area next time. But if you think about it more, because when you load a scene, all of the objects are being destroyed, and of course the object that this script is on will also be destroyed, and its update will not be called anyway, so it's kind of redundant to do this. But if you have, for example, a scene manager which persists through scene loads, so for example you can do this and you basically have to do it on the game object itself, not on the script. This is a callback that instructs Unity to not destroy this this object when you unload the scene that it's part of, right? And for example, when you unload the current scene with this thing, this object will not get destroyed. And that's how you create like a scene manager, right? You create a scene manager, and you'll have like a script here that's called scene manager, and you have a game object here that's called scene manager, right? And yeah, and I know it gets a bit messy with everything, but I can show what happens, because in its start we're setting it like this, so we're instructing Unity to not destroy it. I mean, yeah, it asked it for a button, but there's no button. Let's just comment that. So let's say this is our scene manager, and this should be called scene manager just to make it obvious. You see, it created a scene for us, that's a special kind of scene that's called don't destroy and load. And yeah, these are the objects that won't be destroyed when this scene will be destroyed or unloaded or replaced with another scene. And that's because you want your scene manager to persist, because it's like it's an overseer, right? It manages the scene, so itself shouldn't be destroyed as part of a scene. Yeah, and I think we'll talk about that more later. Let's undo some of the things here. I mean, no, let's keep it actually. Yeah, let's keep it. I mean, good. And that's how load scene async works, and also unload scene async does the same thing. So you can just unload the scene. I mean, we haven't pressed the button, so you can show the scene loading. I mean, we can do that. Let's do that. I mean, if you're seeing for the first time, I guess it makes a difference. We have to, I mean, you know what? Let's just do it the right way. We will call it scene manager temp. And I mean, let's edit this. Yeah, let's add that button there. And just yeah, let's keep it simple. It will be just destroyed when we load the scene. Load scene async and everything here. Okay, so it's like a scene manager temp button. Let's keep this one simple as well, because this this object's purpose was just to be visible or not visible, right? So we should separate a lot of functionality like this. It's very important. Good. Conditionally visible and scene manager temp, and this has, let's remove this one. We will add it on this button. Remove component. This scene manager temp. Come on, man. Scene manager temp button. Okay. Let's see. So it should try to load this scene if possible. Couldn't be loaded because it wasn't added to the scene settings, to the build settings. Yeah, and that's why we have to maybe without the Unity part, like just the scene name without, not the file name. Yeah, and we've loaded like this scene, and it replaced our other scene. And because they are small scenes, it's really fast, right? Like, but if we had like a huge 3D level with lots of effects and torches and mountains and all of that, like we would see like a progress, small progress. And let's see, here on became visible, loading scene. If you can double click it, it goes here, which is a nice thing. Then load progress 0, because our update suddenly this condition became true and it entered here. So we see like progress 0, and like because it was really fast, it immediately went to 0.9, and then yeah, well, on became invisible finally triggered. And then I guess at some point it went through this thing, or it might not even go. Maybe it didn't go into this section because the object itself was destroyed, right? And then its update was not called anymore. Good. So basically now you saw how this works. And unload scene, like I said, does the same thing, but it basically just unloads everything, and you will have just an empty thing here, and you'll only have the don't destroy and load like virtual scene, right? It's like a simulated scene in a way that Unity creates, that represents objects that are never destroyed automatically. Okay, so we can talk now about the animation. So those are scenes, and basically I'm giving you the seeds for yourself, so you can explore more, and you have to try these things yourself, because there's like a finding, I think, like we only remember either 10% or 20% of everything we read or hear or something like that. So you have to really try it yourself. And yeah, but those are the scenes, and we'll go over them later as part of creating a Tetris game. Well, I will create it and will show you how it's made. But yeah, animation. So we won't be creating like animations with bones like these. I don't remember if Unity has something like this, but there's like an asset on Asset Store that does really good, like works really well with bones and stuff like this, and it works really well. But yeah, like an animation, you have an entry and you have like a state machine here. That's how it's called, finite state machine, finite. Yeah, it's good, man. No problem. Yeah, it depends on your internet connection. Good. So it's called finite because we have like a finite number of states, so 3 states. And state machine, it's yeah, these are the states, and machine because it's that's their, whoever invented the term, that's what they used, just chose this term. The whole thing is a machine, right? And it kind of makes sense because it gets, if you have a lot of states, it gets complex, and that's what machine is, right? So we have the stay, or I like to call it idle. And from idle you can go to jump. From jump you can go again to jump. From what I see here, that's what this means. From jump you can go to stay. From jump you can go to run, and you can go from each state to each other state in this case. And this is the animator window. Like the animator window decides the states and how they interact with each other, and the animation, like there's animator and animation, and animator uses the animations. But the animation is just a very simple, just a single state where you define, okay, what happens in that animation, right? What parts of the object move, what sounds are triggered, because you can have like a sound trigger at some point in an animation. Yeah. Good. So let's download this free asset, which I think I already have. 2D demo character sprite sheet. Let's see, did I add this also here? Oh, I add it here now. So this is the 2D demo character sprite sheet, and a sprite sheet is this, it's a file that has, I mean, it's not seen here, but yeah, you'll see it. Open in Unity and error refreshing assets. Doesn't matter, we refreshed again, but doesn't work. Okay, for some reason Unity doesn't want to. Let's again. Okay, something interesting happened. Okay, let's just quit Unity and again start it. That works a lot of times. Let's close these windows. I mean, let's wait for Unity to load first. Interesting. There's an error. Well, this thing works. This thing. Maybe I have to sign in or something, but it should tell me that. It should tell me that. Well, just imagine it's here, but because I already have it, and under my assets. But you also see it here, I think. No, you won't be seeing it. But it's basically, where are you? Package content, free 2D demo character sprite sheet. And it's here on W1, which is day 1, which is week 1, day 5. And I've created like a plugins folder. Like I said, it's a good habit to to do it this way. And we have this one, free 2D demo character sprite sheet. And in this case, there are individual files, which are animations. You see like 0, 0, 0, 0, then 0, 0, 0, 1, and so on. This is like the that animation. This is the idle animation. Jump. But there is also a way to have like a single file, a single image that has all of these put in a grid. And then you'd probably select this thing and then sprite mode multiple. That's how you do it. And you'd have then you'll have to just choose like the distance between each sprite and so on. But it's good. It's simpler to animate this way, I think. Yeah. So I already have it here. Yeah, let's do that. So we have this entire scene here, and you can go over here to prefab and you have the player. I mean, let's just create a new scene. I mean, we already have this scene here, and it's like, you see, it's an empty scene. It has a main camera and a directional light, and I've already dragged the player here. And it's the same, like if you, let's say the player is not here, right? It's just a new scene with nothing in it. You drag the player, you double click it so you can go closer to it. And let's see the game, and it's already like, because the camera is here, I already positioned it so that it looks at the origin. So you see the camera is not at 0, 0, 0, it's like at 1.6 meter above the ground and so on. And it looks directly into the player. And yeah, I think it will go over all of its animations, right? Or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, and the way it works, you have like an animator which uses this player controller, which is an animator controller. Yeah, it's I would have named this like anim controller or something if I were Unity, but it's from a very long time ago. So they have like the animation controller, yeah, or the animator. It's called has the file extension .controller, and the animation itself has the anim extension. And if you double click it, you have it this, and if you go like from entry, you go to from idle to walk to sneak to run and so on, and there are like no conditions. It has this exit time, which means that it will exit at the end, I think. Exit time 2. In normalized time. Yeah, I think 2 means that after playing 2 times this animation, it will go into this. If I press 3. Yeah, it will play like the animation thrice, 3 times, and then. Okay. Yeah, and we can. Well, let's first just look into this type. So we are in the animator window. You can go to it from here, animation, animator, or just double click on animator, right? And there can be multiple layers, but most of the time you have one layer for simplicity. And see, we have here the idle animation, and when you double click it, you open the animation window, which is a simpler window because it only has to do with what thing is animated for an object. But in order to be editable, you have to click the actual an actual object where there's an animator, where like this, where there's a state where this animation is attached. It's a bit more, yeah. And you click the player and you see, you can now see it here. And if you, I think if you preview it, yeah, you have this preview here, you can unclick it, and I think, oh no, you cannot, you always, like, you're forced to preview it. And you can see here the sprite changes. You can use your mouse wheel to scroll. Right. And this is the idle animation. And of course, when you press here, you can choose more animations. And the way it knows which animations to show you here, it doesn't look here, but it looks in the animator. You see, because our object has an animator component, right? And the animator component has this animator controller, which is a player, which you double click and you see it here in this window. And here you have all of these states, right? And this state, for example, has the walk animation. You see, if you look at it, it's a file that's called walk.anim, right? And I mean, if you want to look into it, like you see here, like a lot of parameters, and basically it's all of the information is here, where the information that you visually see here, right? And of course you can change the keyframes, you can animate more properties and all of that. Yeah, and that's your animator. That's like your briefing into the animator. And yeah, we've already been here. Let's see the script changes. Just do that because I already had the player there. Let's create a simple jumping animation. So we create a player folder. Let's create a player folder. And in this folder will be everything that like everything that we create now. So just you right click, create folder, and name it player, and I already have it here, right? You know what? Let me put it like this, and maybe now show it. Yeah, I don't know how to do that. So I'll just do it like this. Create a player folder, then create a sprites folder inside it and copy, not move, all the idle and the jump sprites. And yeah, so we'll create a sprites folder. So again, create folder, call it sprites. And we just copy all of the things from here, right? From the, we copy the idle and the jump, idle and the jump. And I think you can do, you can Control C and here you just Control V, right? And they will show here. Good. Yeah, if they are not imported as sprites, basically you click on one of them and shows here texture type, not sprite, but you'll see like texture. You'll see it like default, it will be like this, right? You basically just click and press sprite. Like you have to select all of them like this and do it, right? And then apply. Create an object component, create an empty object in the hierarchy, and we call it player. And I've already done that, so you basically do like I've created like a scene, and like I said, this was like empty at the beginning, and we create an empty object, we call it player. Yeah, it's already there because I've created it already. Add a sprite renderer like this, you see, and it's here already because I created it, right? Add an animator component, And you see it's here, this one, I've created it already. And yeah, it should look like this. And now right click on the player folder in the project view and create an animator and simply call it animator. Right, and let's say like I have already this player here. Right click, create animator controller, and you call it animator, right? Like name it here. Now select the player in the hierarchy and drag that animator into the player's animator field in inspector, like this, right? And I've already done that, like animator to this here, right? Yeah, and we create 2 animations, and the way we do that, we click the player folder and we just create animation. Bam, and we call it like jump, and then again when we call it idle, right? And they are already here. And now double click the animator asset and drag the 2 animations here, and the animator will automatically create 2 states. And you can also right click and create them manually if you want, like create state, whatever, but it's just easier to do it like this. So you will just drag this here, and these 2 states will pop up, and they won't have these arrows here. They will be just like this, overlapped, and just put it like this. And make sure entry points to idle. So you'll basically do make transition idle. Well, I have to press Ctrl Z to undo it. But you'll have it like this, or probably. Yeah, I don't remember how it's done. I think I don't remember how do you change this thing, like to have the entry being yeah, interesting. Yeah, there's some way in which you can change the like what's the default state. Oh, set state machine default state. I think it's this thing. Set as layer default state. Yeah, that's how you do it. Yeah, okay. In case it's not idle. And then right click on idle and make a transition to jump, and vice versa. So you basically make transition, and you see it creates this thing, and then you press on jump, right? I will just undo it now because I want only one. It's already there. And again, from this, make transition to this, right? And you'll have it like this. Then create a trigger parameter called jump through here. And I already have it, like trigger, and call it jump, right? I already have it. And I will just delete this thing. And now let's see, we select the arrow that points from idle to jump, and under conditions in inspector, we add the jump trigger we created. So from idle, we go to the jump state by having this trigger activated. Under conditions, we press this plus, and it's already there, and you select the trigger, but it's the only trigger, right? And then it's already automatically selected. And I think this has exit time is checked, and we have to uncheck it. What this means is when the animation plays, if there is an exit time, you see this triangle here appears, it will automatically exit the state and it will go into the next state, right? But we don't want that. We want to stay infinitely, indefinitely in the idle state. So we uncheck has exit time. And Yeah, because we have a condition. We only want to exit the idle when we press the button to jump, right? Good. Oh, and I think I don't okay, we'll talk about the because I'm not talking here about going from the jump to idle. I think I'm talking about it later, but it's basically the same thing. We already created the transition, but this time we have an exit time because we want to wait for the jump animation to finish. We don't interrupt the jump animation, and yeah, you can interrupt it if you want to like do a double jump or something like that, but to keep it simple, exiting from the jump state, there's no condition except that it reaches a certain normalized time. And for example, this is like 0.5, and this means like a 75%, right? Like 1 represents the end here, but at the 70% of the state, it will go into the next state, and it will smoothly transition to the next state. But because we are just swapping frames, you won't see like there's nothing to be smooth about there. But if it were like a 3D model where it will just jump and everything will move with it, and then it will go into the idle state, you would see like a very beautiful blending between the two animations, and which will be represented by this transition here, right? Yeah, and that's why you have an exit time. You basically force it to exit, and it cannot be interrupted. And there's also this thing interruption source, but basically that's what it means, and it's none by default, which means no other thing can interrupt this animation. Good. Now back to our animations, and let's add the sprites to each of them. So we select the player, then click window animation, and you will now see the animations, animators animations. So we click the player. We already have the animation here, but let's do it through this animation, right? And we have the idle, I think, yeah. With this open, simply drag and drop all idle sprites. So we select all of these. So here we go to where we put the sprites here in our player. We copied them just so we can keep them separate from these ones. Like you won't normally do this, but I just wanted to keep them separate and contained here. Yeah, so basically you will just move these things here and they will be here, right? And I mean, they're already here because I added them, but you in order to tweak them, you basically do like this, right? You it's like scaling them, but it's mostly just deciding on the duration between between changing each frame, right? So they're already here, like I already done that. And this is like 1 here, and 1 represents I think a second. Yeah, I think it represents a second. Let's drag this here. So basically you click and drag on the tab, and you can, you know, pop it out like this. And this is our animation. You see, you can make it run faster. And I said like, okay, this is like the normal pace, right? And of course you can just move this one if you want, like, but there's a lot of configuration that you can do. Okay. Good, and for the jump animation, it's the same. You can already like press from here. And there are two things here now. When you jump, you not only do the animation, the jumping animation, you also have to animate the Y position of the object, right? Because otherwise it will just do this, right? And the way you do that is, well, let's see if we have 1 second. Let's see if we have something here where I describe how it's done. Yeah, basically here I'm just going over it, like, yeah, it's probably too fast. And you can just drag these things around and just make it faster or slower. Yeah, and jumping is a bit faster, so basically there are people that are only doing animation, right? Because there's so many things that you can do there that it's an entire job. Yeah, I think for the jump animation, I don't know, do I... okay, yeah, I do it later. Now start the game in editor, and we start the game in the editor, and let's say it's like this, like the idle, because it doesn't have this thing by default, right? And you start the game and you see it like once, I think. Yeah, you like stick like once, and you have to press loop time and just press again so you can loop. See, and it loops. And what you can do, you can even go into the animator, and you can see this thing, like it goes idle, idle, idle. That's very cool. Yeah, so we select the animation asset and press loop time so it can loop. Yeah, we can manually trigger that jump state. You see, so we trigger this, we press here, and it goes like whenever it is here, like maybe it's even here, and we can go directly to the jump state. It jumped and then back to idle. And yeah, I mean, we can look at the game as well. But where are you? Animation. Yeah. You see. Yeah, and it works pretty well because we also we change the position as well. You probably noticed there's a small delay, so let's fix that. Yeah, well, in our cases there wasn't any because I already had it set up, but you like select the transition from idle to jump, animator, from idle to jump, and you have to uncheck this has exit time, because what it did, when we pressed the trigger, the animator checked, okay, we have an exit time, I will exit when I have the exit time or something like that, right? but now you don't need any exit time. You want to immediately exit. And that's why now I'm coming to like also changing the position. So we didn't move the guy during the jump. So let's do that. And of course, like I already had set it up, but let's put this back here. Animation, jump. And the way you do that is, so let's make sure the object is positioned at 0, 0, 0, 0, because that's the best way to do this. Okay. And then with the player object selected, let's put this here. With it selected, we press record. Yeah, we press record. Okay, I press record, and then I go, like I said, like in the 10th frame, and I set here like 2, which is already set, and it set here, you see, a keyframe for the XYZ position, because it sets it for the entire position property, not only for the Y. Yeah, and that's how it works. It goes to 2. And I think like if this doesn't appear here, like if you have no keyframe at the beginning here, you just press this add keyframe, right? I mean, I already have it, so I don't need to. And here as well, like I can either add a keyframe, but if I change something here, for example, let's say I go here and I change this, you see it adds a keyframe, right? And like most animation software works like this. Yeah, increased by 2 units. And as you can see, any property change during the recording gets red. You can change a lot of things. Notice that position was added to animation extract properties, like here. Yeah, so if this weren't here, like for example, if I do this, you see rotation was added now. And it's also all of the angles, like XYZ angles, are here, not only the one that I've changed. And there's a more complex reason for that, but I won't go into it. Basically, the animator remembers the whole rotation property, not only a single component of it, like the Y rotation, right? And the same as scale and position is the same. To finalize the jump, we have to move him back to Y0. So set the timeline to the last frame. So in this case, I chose the 35th frame for the jump. And I mean, you can, let's also see the guy. So like this, right? And then I go to this frame and I set it to 0, which is already here. It's because I've already set it, right? Yeah, revert it back to 0 to the 35th frame. Of course, it's important to stop the recording so that you won't mess up the animation by changing other properties of the object here. Control S or Command S to save the properties. Now let's check the results. One final thing. Let's make it jump on space key. Exit play mode. Yeah, let's do that. Oh yeah, actually we would just go to the play mode, and we've already checked that, right? We checked it in the animator where I'm doing this. I'm manually triggering the jump. And let's make it jump on the spacebar, right? We go to the player folder, or yeah, actually this is another way of doing it. We go to the player, and I've already created the script, but let's just do it like again. New script, player jump, and I'm just creating it like TMP because I will delete it later, right? Add component, new script, call it player jump, and double click it. And you double click it and you see it like this. This is the default model behavior. And add this code to the update method, so don't even think too much about it, but if you want to think about it, it will make sense. Like this is Unity's input module, and this is like the way you get other components. And of course, because this script is added onto this object, it has access to any other component, and it says like get component animator and dot, so it gets the animator and it calls the set trigger function with this name, with this parameter, and this basically self-explanatory. It sets the trigger. It's as if, where are you? It's as if we press this thing here, right? So it's it triggers the trigger manually, and let's see, it should be here somewhere already, like the code. Playerjump.cs. And of course we have to use namespaces. That's a good thing to do. Like you see that here by default you have no namespace, but it's good to have namespaces. It's we will talk about it later, but it's a way to organize things. You see, like, because this is like for educational purposes, I used like w1d5, so week 1 day 5 dot animation, and the folder is also like w1d5 dash animation, because it's weird to put dots in folder names in Unity. Just don't do that. Yeah, and in the update I do this thing, which means each frame, so 60 times per second normally, it checks, okay, if this key was pressed on this frame, and get key down means that if the key was pressed this frame only. So it's not checking whether the key is pressed, but whether the key started to be pressed this frame, right? Because you don't want to constantly check for that each frame, because it will basically do this thing like 60 times per second, right? If you do it like this, is the way in which you can check whether a key is pressed, right? And it's basically, as long as you're keeping it pressed, whatever instruction you have here, it will get executed continuously, right? So, and you also have get key up. So when you press a key and the moment you release it, that's when this would trigger, right? But this is the natural thing, like when the player presses the space bar, they want to instantly jump, right? Good, and we already have this player jump here, and I will just delete this that I've created. Okay. And when you press play, when we press space, it jumps. Okay. So now you can put to the animator on your resume. And mission accomplished. So I think, like this really is for, this really it is for this week. Let's see.
Mission accomplished. Good work.
So this is for this week. I can't believe a week already passed, so we have 3 more weeks. But there's a lot of other things to come, so the next week has a very, like I said, an intense day for programming. And I think that lesson, that even if you're like a web developer, even if you are like an assembly developer or whatever, like that lesson, I put a lot of work on it. It will be really in depth, and I don't know if you will survive it. Yeah, we'll see. But just be prepared for, I think it's on Tuesday on or Wednesday, and it will be at least 3 hours. So get ready for it. So in theory, like we do like 1 day of programming. So you learn programming in 1 day. Like realistically, I think you'd have to rewatch that lesson afterwards. Yeah. But anyway, congratulations, you've made it through the first week. And if you have any questions similar to other times, like just write it here or write it on Discord or write me, DM me. Yeah, so just maybe go and rewatch this if you haven't like followed up along. Yeah, just try to do the thing yourself as well if you haven't already, to animate the thing. It's basically, you can remember like 80% of it if you're doing it while you're watching the stream. And if you're just watching and not doing anything, you're just remembering 20%. That's the science from what I know. Yeah. So sessions for Saturday are like, in theory, I said that I will hold a session on Saturday if there's at least one person interested, and it will be like an open mic. So how stand-up comedy works, right? You have an open mic, so we basically talk about anything at random. So if you have any questions about anything related to game development, right, and any adjacent or tangential subject, we can talk about. You can even write, I mean, you don't necessarily have to have an open mic, you know. You can just write, and I will just repeat the question, and we'll talk about things there. And I mean, Saturdays are for anything. And like I said, this course, like ideally it would have been in real life, but yeah, it wasn't, like, it didn't happen. And if I were like physically there, I could even like help you with setting up maybe something, or just showing you some tricks, you know, like exactly like in a classroom, right, where you are with your instructor, and it shows you various things, random things, whatever you want. And more exactly in our case, I would recommend, like, if we will have a Saturday session, I think it's better to, like, if you want to get the most value out of it, you just work on your project. Like, even if we didn't already go through many concepts, but just open Unity and try to just Google it, LLM it, read the documentation, Unity documentation about whatever you're doing, and just try to have like create a separate project, not inside this project that you've cloned, obviously, because this is just for learning. And then you just create a new Unity project there from the Unity hub, yeah, and just call it like whatever you want from these things here, right? So we have 2 platformers and magic jewelry or sniper shooter, right? So choose one and just start already, like create it. Maybe download some assets from asset store that are free that you would want to use. Like there are a lot of things that you can do before even you learn how to create the game. Like just like assume that you already kind of know and like you'll be surprised how much things you can do when you just get started, and you get stuck. You then find out some things and you ask, maybe you ask ChatGPT or whatever, or Claude or whatever you're using. Like you ask it something and you show it a screenshot and it tells you how to do some things. And yeah, and we will go over the like structure, the rigid notions and everything. But yeah, just do that in your free time, like even today or tomorrow or whatever. And on Saturdays I can also just be here at the same time, and I will just be on the stream, and I will just, you can share your screen and you can ask questions, and just imagine it's like a virtual classroom and you're working on your project and I'm just there and I can just help you with whatever, right? And yeah, like there's a fine line there because you'll get graded on that project. So like I won't be showing you exactly what to do, but I will show you the general concept of how to do that thing, right? Yeah, so if anyone wants to be present tomorrow, just write me, or just write on Discord there on GameDev Raw channel, and just write there so everybody else will see it. And if at least one of you wants to join, I will start the session, right? And I think it's in the calendar, so you will get notified by it. Yeah, but right off, like right now, like do you guys, any one of you already knows if they want to join tomorrow? So yeah, I mean, depending on what you were going to do, I guess, right? Yeah, tomorrow, like I said, yeah, sure. So tomorrow we will just, you can work on your project, just open it and try to do something. So just try things, right? Apply what you learned, or like I said, choose one of those projects and one of those 3 projects and start to do something in it. Like I'm also learning this very late, that just go and do the thing. Just go and do it. Like even if you don't know anything, just go and do it. And you just Google things, you ask ChatGPT things, just go and do it, right? And you can, like I said, share your screen or send me screenshots here on Google Meets or on Discord. I think you can, I don't know if you can put screenshots here. Yeah, I'll be watching Discord. So guys, if you want me to join tomorrow, I mean, it's free. It's this thing that I'm doing, like it's it would be pretty expensive if you would have to pay for something like this. But yeah, just think about it if you want to work on your project, and for me to be there and just take a look and give you hints and everything, just write me on Discord, right? Just write me right there on Discord on that channel. Just write now or in an hour or whatever, and I'll know to start, right? Yeah. But otherwise, like, see you next week for everyone else. So just try and digest what you've learned this week. Maybe rewatch the sessions, and yeah. So yeah, see you tomorrow for those that will want to join for the extra session. And have a nice evening, everybody. See you.